These young people are celebrating their return to Israel, the original homeland of the Jews. Since the days of Abraham, the history of the Hebrews has been a stormy one, with persecution and fighting in every century. Even today, with the creation of the State of Israel, there's still unrest and hatred between the Jews and their neighbours. And there are still countries in which Jews are persecuted, but now the outside world is at least aware of their plight. The worst campaign ever against Jews took place in Germany at the time before the last World War. It started with the branding of Jewish homes and businesses with anti-Jewish slogans, and ended with the torturing and killing of Jews in concentration camps, not in thousands, but in millions. As a result, Judaism has become not so much a religion as a way of life. Each week on the Sabbath Eve, the woman of the house recites the Sabbath blessing in Hebrew. Keeping the Sabbath is probably the most important custom of the Jewish faith. It begins at sunset each Friday, with a Sabbath meal complete with bread and wine. The wine is blessed, and the cup is filled almost to overflowing as a symbol of divine blessing for the coming week. It's a joyous occasion, and most Jews love to be together as a family on Sabbath evening if they possibly can. At any normal meal, only one loaf of bread would be seen on the table. On the Sabbath, 2 loaves are present to represent the double portion of manna given to the Israelites during their 40 years wandering in the desert.
That bit for me?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on to it. Hold on to it.
When the Sabbath ends on Saturday evening, wine is again blessed and spices are used so that the pleasant fragrance of the Sabbath may linger into the new week. The word synagogue means a meeting house. Any building will serve for this purpose as long as there are at least 10 adult male Jews present. Before they enter the synagogue, the men put on a skull cap called a kapel and a prayer shawl with long dangling fringes. In Orthodox synagogues, the men and women sit separately. But in progressive ones, men and women sit together as families. In both Orthodox and progressive synagogues, the scrolls are regarded with great reverence, for they contain the laws of Judaism, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. The scrolls are painstakingly written by hand, and to preserve the valuable text, a silver pointer is used. The human hand would soil the parchment. The Torah is written in Hebrew, and Jewish children study the Hebrew language at religion school.
Let's go through the last part of the Shema, shall we? All right? Off we go.
It's important to learn not just to read and write Hebrew, but how to read the text aloud. Some of these children may be asked to read aloud from the Torah at children's services in the synagogue. And at 13 years old, all Jewish boys are expected to recite a portion of the Torah at their bar mitzvah, when they become adult members of the congregation.
Don't slow down.
In the synagogue, the scrolls containing the scriptures are stored in a kind of cupboard called the Ark. These scrolls each contain the 5 books of Moses, called the Pentateuch. Jews usually refer to them as the Torah. The message of the Torah is that God, there is only one, has chosen his people to accomplish his purpose. In this sense, the Jews are a chosen people. At the time of high festivals, like the New Year festival, Rosh Hashanah, the cloth covers for the scrolls are changed to white. These covers are usually made of a rich material like velvet, embroidered with religious symbols. The ornate silver pointer in the shape of a hand is called a yod. Each scroll is topped with musical bells. Every synagogue runs a religion school, where on Sunday mornings the children are taught about their faith.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now can we say that in the Hebrew? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Very good. Now, you've all done some pictures, haven't you, of the mezuzah?
This class is learning about the mezuzah. A mezuzah is a little oblong container made in a variety of materials and often skillfully carved.
And what does it contain inside the mezuzah? The Shema.
The Shema is the special prayer, which is recited at all daily
Very
services.
small writing, isn't it? It says Shema at the top, doesn't it?
What does the Shema tell us?
It tells us that we've only got one God.
That's right.
The mezuzah is nailed on the right-hand doorpost of Jewish homes, and the adults touch the mezuzah when they enter or leave the house. Judaism is full of symbolism, and in common with other religions, the kindling of lights is important. Hanukkah is a festival of light. Some synagogues are simple, plain buildings. Others are highly decorated, but most of them will be built in such a way that the Ark, where the scrolls of the law are kept, lies in the direction of Jerusalem, the sacred city which means so much to all Jews. The Western Wall, which used to be called the Wailing Wall, is all that remains of the temple built by King Herod almost 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem. Here, prayers are written and stuffed into cracks in the wall. You can usually recognize the Hasidim by the long ringlets that hang down the sides of their faces. Many of the Jews who've returned to Israel are strictly Orthodox. They dress in black and wear traditional clothing. As in many synagogues, men and women pray separately. At the Western Wall, there's a great feeling of the tradition and ritual that has been handed down through generations of Jews. As always, New Year, or Rosh Hashanah, begins with the haunting sound of the ram's horn being blown. This festival leads up to the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, as it's called in Hebrew. It's the most solemn day of the Jewish year. Everyone attends the synagogue services on this, the last day of the festival, and it too ends with the prolonged blowing of the ram's horn, or shofar. Jewish festivals are also celebrated in the home. At Passover, every Jewish housewife clears out the kitchen cupboards. Anything containing yeast to make it rise is removed, and no leavened foods are brought into the house until the festival is over. At Passover, Jewish families all over the world remember the exodus from Egypt when Moses led their ancestors out of slavery. In the evening, the family celebrates with a Seder meal.
Baruch atah Adonai.
In the center of the table stands the Seder dish. It contains a roasted lamb bone, representing the sacrificial lamb, a roasted egg, bitter herbs that again remind them of the hard times in Egypt, a mixture of apples, nuts and cinnamon called charoset, parsley and salt water. The traditional blessing is said over the wine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazaman hazeh. Amen.
The cups of wine are filled 4 times during the meal. The parsley is dipped in salt water, which is a symbol of the tears of the Israelite slaves. It leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. These crisp breads are unleavened. They're called matzoth. 3 of them are wrapped in an embroidered cloth, and during the meal, the middle one is removed and broken in half. Later, when the children are not looking, 1/2 of the matzah will be hidden somewhere in the room.
Simon?
During the Seder meal, the story of the Passover and the Exodus is told with questions and answers.
What does that mean, Nick?
On all other nights, we eat leavened or unleavened bread. Why tonight only unleavened?
We eat this matzah to remind us of the unleavened bread which our forefathers baked in Egypt because their dough did not have time to ferment.
Later on, there's the fun of finding the hidden matzah.
Judith, are you going to look for it?
Yes.
Usually the young children search for it, encouraged by the rest of the family.
No. It's back over the other side.
Okay.
Properly.
A little bit warmer.
You were quite warm, actually.
I found it.
Got it? Can I buy it from you?
The finder is rewarded, sometimes with a gift, sometimes with money. 1 cup of wine is left untouched on the table for the prophet Elijah, and the door is opened to allow him to enter. He is a symbol of peace and freedom, and Jews look forward to the time when he will return to restore their kingdom. Through generations of persecution and suffering, Jews have been convinced that one day they would return to their own land. The final cup of wine is a declaration of their hope for the future, when their final Seder toast will be not just a prayer, but a reality.
Next year in Jerusalem.